Financial Group. All right, guys, we're going to jump right into it. Thank you very much. The markets closed at an all-time high today, and yet you walk around this building, it does not feel like it. I remember doing the Money Show here in 2000. The audience, I mean, some of you guys were probably here. It was maybe 20 times larger, 3-story booths, motorcycles, dancing girls. It was euphoric. None of that today, right? We know it, but there's something to be said about that. Because we've come a long way with this stock market. And the fact that you're here underscores that you want to do something, that you want to improve your lives, that you want to make more money, that you want to control your own destiny. But what exactly is the problem? Why isn't this happening, particularly with more Americans? I think it's a combination of factors. I think a lot of people are skeptical of the markets. I think a lot of people are skeptical about where America is going. I think a lot of people are just more or less thrown in the towel. And that's not, of course, how we became the greatest country in the world. So we're going to discuss that a little bit. And I'll start with you, Chris. What do you think it is? We're at all-time highs, and yet you don't feel it. It's not palpable. It's not palpable at the Money Show, and it's certainly not palpable on Main Street.
Well, I'll tell you what I've been hearing, Charles. I've been here a couple days, and everybody is concerned about the economy. You know, we can talk about the Fed, we could talk about the dollar, but, you know, there was one gentleman I spoke with in particular. He said, I've been to 10 presentations. I heard 10 different things about the direction of the economy. They want to know where we're going, what's the vector, the velocity. And I think once you figure that out, you can back into, are companies going to grow their earnings? What does that mean for the multiples of the market and so forth? So it's the economy, Charles.
The economy.
You know, it's very interesting, Charles. What I've noticed here at the Money Show and in talking to everyone on the street in New York City is that there's so little faith in our government. There's so little faith in President Obama. And I think that it starts there. And then, of course, there's so much scarring from 2000, 2008, 2009 financial crisis. And many people know those who haven't returned to work. So in many ways, we have had an economic revival. Our stock market is on fire, and it's magnificent, incredible. We were attracting money from all over the world, but there are those who still aren't back to work.
Let me do an informal poll. Chris says the economy. Hillary says politics. If you agree with Chris, let me know. Or is Hillary more on point with the fact that it's a lack of leadership that's got a lot of people worried? So let's go to our political pro, Scotty Nell Hughes. Scotty, you hear the people.
I'm going to actually say it's both. I think it's the lack of leadership on the economy that has made people lose faith. I think we sit there and we see these numbers touted by the president, touted by the Fed. Oh, unemployment's down and we're better than we were 8 years ago. No, we're not. I'm still having to pay higher for milk prices. It's now starting to cost me more to fill up my gas tank. And what we found is that despite gas prices these past few months going down, Charles, people didn't spend it. They saved it. And there's nothing against saving, but at the same time, we want to restore the confidence in our economy and let people start spending again.
Matt,
listen, I think I'm going to agree with everybody so far. Economy, leadership. The problem is we could have sat here 6.5 years ago and said the same thing, and you're sitting out of the stock market because of that. You're spiting yourself. We don't like Obama. I'm not an Obama fan, but the bottom line is corporations are making more money now than they ever have. So you're sitting on the sidelines because you don't like Obama. Meanwhile, you're going to work an extra 5 years because of that. I think you need to be in the market long term in this country.
And what I will add to that is, and believe me, you're going to hear a lot of stats over the next year and a half into the election, and a lot of them will be factually correct, although what they're insinuating will be wrong. To Matt's point, corporate profits at an all-time high, incomes or pays for regular workers as a percentage of GDP at an all-time low. But those profits are not coming from America. When Apple reported their earnings, 70% of those phones were sold outside of our country? Listen, I have no problem with the rest of the world nipping out our heels. Competition is great. Competition is what makes you great. But we're fighting this fight with one or two arms tied behind our backs. And this is where I think you guys have a legitimate reason for being frustrated, and so do I. I talk about this every single day. If we would unleash the greatness of this nation, instead it feels like the mentality of those in charge is like they look at America as a group of pirates, and we've robbed enough people, now we need to divvy up the loot. They don't have any real honest to goodness belief in capitalism or free markets or the idea that every individual can pull themselves up by the bootstrap. And unfortunately, this is resonating more and more and more. And I'm not sure if sometimes the higher stock market makes it even worse or an easier sell on Main Street for the person that's not making it. And that's something that we have to think about, right, Chris? I mean, listen.
Absolutely.
It is the economy, obviously. But why is the economy in the position that it's in?
Well, you look at the leadership that we have, to Hillary's point. Look at the policies that are being put forth. You look at the growing regulation that is, strangling companies. You look at the inability to repatriate cash so companies can invest back in the U.S. If we can clean those things up, maybe we can get back on track.
Repatriate cash, for those who don't know the term or understand the term, when companies make money overseas and they bring it back, they repatriate it. No other civilized nation in the world punishes companies for doing that. We are the only ones that tax companies for having the nerve to make a profit outside of this country and maybe bringing it back. So consequently, what are companies doing? They're keeping it overseas. Anybody in this audience like to pay taxes twice? Come on, they keep it overseas. Right. So